The Artifacts of Mount Independence and the Stories They Tell, a series of brief explorations of Revolutionary War artifacts from Mount Independence on Lake Champlain in Orwell, Vermont.
Greetings and welcome to Mount Independence, Vermont State Historic Site located in Orwell, Vermont. I'm Paul Andriscin. I'm one of the site interpreters here at the Mount, and today we're going to be talking about foodways. And ideally, a colonial soldier or British soldier that was here was supposed to receive about 1.25 pounds of beef per day or 12 ounces of pork per day, along with about 1/3 of a cup of beans, rice, or peas, augmented with some vinegar, salt, and pepper, and it's a quart of spruce beer, and for every 100 men, 9 gallons of molasses, which would allow them to make a meal for themselves. The men were expected to cook in groups, usually about 6 to 8 people in a group, and were expected to prepare their own food. The presence of women on the site would have been beneficial to any of the men who probably needed help with a little bit of cooking, and I'm sure they got involved as well. Today we're going to concentrate on the pig, which was another one of the animals that was used for food here at the Mount. And this is a diagram of a pig, and as they say, from nose to tail, everything is edible on the pig, including the entrails and offal. Depending on how you prepared the food, it would depend on what cut you have. And as you can see by this diagram, everything from the back end where the leg or ham is, and the loin was very desirable, shoulders in to a point, and as the farther down on the animal you would get, the tougher the meat would be, and the more you would have to do something to prepare it. And what we have here is evidence, archaeological evidence that was uncovered here of some of the remains of the pig. Now, having gone through most of this stuff, it is obvious that there was a lot more beef being processed here than there was pork. Pork was often sent in barrels of salted pork, which does not seem to have left much of a remain residue in the way of bones. But what we do have is some that are very obvious that is pork product. And what we have here is a boar's tooth. This is one of the incisors. We also have another smaller incisor from the lower jaw, and some molars which are completely different from cow molars in that they're more sharp and more for chomping and smashing as opposed to like chewing a cud like a cow would be doing. Moving along, this is one of the few pieces I could find. I believe this is a piece of pork shoulder blade. It is mangled out and bashed, most likely to get what little bit of marrow might have been in there. It has a shine to it, which means it was pot polished, most likely cooked in water in some sort of a broth. In front of those, I'm going to move this back just a little bit, in front of those are parts of a pig's foot. Pig's feet would have been used by most people to make some sort of gelatinous stew or soup. There's a lot of collagen in pig's feet. We had German troops here from Germany with the Braunschweig regiment that was here, and also German troops from Pennsylvania that would have been here of German descent. And anybody with those kind of background would have utilized pork products much more variety-wise than, say, people from England or Scotland. They would have been much more in tune with what to do with it. This bag I'm not going to open. I'm reasonably sure that this is pork bones. They're smashed up. There's a piece of shoulder top here. The reason I'm looking at this and thinking that it is pork, there are some teeth in here, molars, and they're not cow molars. Again, there's actually a bit of a front incisor here too. I know you can't see in that bag. But this is most likely what happened to most of the pork bones. They got smashed up pretty badly in order to get more flavor and consistency and marrow into whatever the men were cooking. I mentioned before that some of the meat was brought in here in barrels. It was salted, and one of the things that I picked up from looking at diaries and reading is a lot of the teamsters were unscrupulous and would drain some of the water off the pork. Now that salt cure is what protected the pork from spoiling, and in hot weather the pork would spoil, and it would be what the men would call streaky pork, would had yellow or black streaks on it when it was opened, when the barrels were opened. It was still eaten. It did not kill the men, but what it did was literally there was no nourishment left in it. It took sometimes more calories to digest what you ate than you were getting from the meat. So if you had enough of it, you could be literally eating yourself to death. This is, again, talking about the pork that was here and how it was processed, and a little bit about what was, how the people utilized that particular animal. And that's it for today. Thank you very much.